South Africa is still a world player in the mining industry. Under its soil lies 90% of the world's platinum and more than 40% of the world's gold, wealth that has helped pay for cities like Sandton near Johannesburg. There's a feeling on the streets that South Africans want a greater share.
They must nationalize the mines because they're our raw materials, they belong to us,
We should own our own things.
I think the government should take control of that, of the gold and platinum, because bringing people from abroad and investing in our country doesn't make sense.
A small sign that people in Africa want more from their resources.
Resource nationalism, the desire of people and their governments to have more control over their natural resources. You could argue it started in 1972 with the Arab oil embargoes and has been seen more recently in Venezuela under Hugo Chavez. It seems to be catching on fast in Africa.
In Africa's biggest economy, there has even been talk that would have been unthinkable just 5 years ago of nationalisation.
I don't know if it's a panacea. It's probably not. But I think it's worth discussing and saying, rather than shutting down all these mines, leaving a waste site, and a lot of people stranded with no work, perhaps there is a case for nationalization. But boy, it'd have to be analyzed and justified. And it's hard to believe this government could handle it right now.
At the very least, African nations want more from their resources. Tanzania, Africa's third largest gold producer, this year increased its royalty from 3% to 4%. In South Africa, mining companies are in the process of paying new royalties on sales. It will take a minimum of 0.5% from mining companies making losses, a maximum of 5% on sales of refined material and 7% on unrefined material. It will be calculated by an EBIT formula taking into account profits and capital expenditure. Copper mining Zambia takes 2% of the market value of its minerals, less smelting, refining and handling costs. The Democratic Republic of Congo proposes taking 35% of all future mining deals. Zimbabwe is still mulling over what to do with its proposal to take over 51% of foreign mining companies on behalf of indigenous Zimbabweans. Angola, the world's fifth biggest diamond miner, is also proposing new mining taxes. It says companies can have 50% of revenue, but give the other 50% to taxes, investors and the community. Away from Africa, Australia raised many eyebrows in the mining world when it proposed a 40% tax on corporate profits.
I think it relates to Africa in a kind of reverse positive manner, because what it's kind of done is it's changed the way in which mining companies think of political risk. Let's just remind ourselves what Australia is. It's a granny state of note. It represents all things predictable and sunny. There could never be a shock in Australia because everything's so well flagged. Well, suddenly this has come along and changed the game. There was a review into the tax reform, but what they've suggested was a worst case scenario, and it's come to be. So I think people look at that and they say, is it so risky now to be investing in the DRC now that its mining license review is completed, or in Liberia, or in Zimbabwe? And these former pariah states are getting a bit of attention now.
It appears journalists are likely to write many more stories about the power struggle between African nations and mining companies in the coming years.